Hey Stitches! In this video I will be showing you how to make Howl the Littlest Ghost, probably one of my most popular patterns, if not the most popular pattern. Today you're going to need a white yarn, a pink yarn, and a black thread. The yarn weight can be changed depending on how big you want your howl to be, but for the most part, as long as you keep those two colors the same, you'll be fine. You will need 9mm safety eyes. Again, this can change on the yarn weight that you use, but for this project we'll be using 9mm, as well as a 3.25mm crochet hook. This can depend on your tension and yarn weight, but for this video I will be using a 3.25mm. You will also need polyfill, a yarn needle, and scissors. So for round one, we're going to start by making a magic circle. This easiest can be done by wrapping it around your fingers twice, finding the X at the top of your fingers, and just making a quick little chain. And then we're going to go ahead and start doing 6 single crochets into this magic loop. You're going to make sure you're wrapping it around both of the yarns on the loop. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And as you can see there, I did the yarn over method instead of the yarn under. I'm sorry, I did the yarn under method instead of the yarn over method. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and find that first stitch that we did in the last round. And we're going to go right into there. We are not going to join. We're going to yarn under and pull through, yarn under again and pull through and make our first single crochet. And we're going to do 2 single crochets into each of the previous stitches of the last round. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9's a bit tricky for some reason, and 10, 11, and 12. Now at this point you can continue on without using a stitch marker, but I highly suggest using a running stitch marker. And the easiest way to get one of these is to just find a random piece of string you have laying around, split it until it's the smallest you can get it, and then you're going to use this as a stitch marker by just kind of flipping it over the top of your stitches at the end of each round. This is going to allow you to see where the round begins, but it's not going to have like a big hole at the beginning of each round like I usually get with a stitch marker. I highly suggest this method over using a stitch marker. So we're going to start round 3 and we're going to do a single crochet increase and a single crochet pattern 6 times. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, last rotation, 16, 17, and 18. As you can see, I'm still getting used to doing this on camera. Alright, so now we have round 3 completed. And then as you can see, I'm going to take this back part of the stitch marker and I'm going to flip it over to the front. And then I'm going to start round 4 normally. So round 4 we're going to do a repeat of a single crochet, an increase, and a single crochet repeated 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, first repeat, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, increase 14, 15, single crochet 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and then our last repeat 21, increase 22, 23, single crochet 24 in the last space. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and flip the stitch marker to the back now and continue to round 5. So rounds 5 through 9 are 24 single crochets around in a spiral. So I'm going to do that 5 times, 5 rounds total, and we'll speed through this. Feel free to pause the video right now. Alright, so now that you've finished your 5 rounds of 24, let's go ahead and count. So 1, 2, find your stitch marker, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So there's your 9 rounds. And we're going to go ahead and start round 10. Now 10 can be kind of tricky if you're not used to a bobble stitch, but don't be scared. A bobble stitch is simply just 5 double crochet together. Okay, so we're going to do 7 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now we're going to start a bobble. So make sure you have plenty of slack on your yarn. You're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch. And yarn over again and pull through just the first two loops. So yarn over, and we're going to pull through the first 2 loops again, and we're going to do this 5 times total. So it's 2, 3, okay, 4. It's a little bit harder to get in that hole, but I promise it's possible. And then our last one, if you can see it, I apologize. Last one we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, put it in that same stitch, yarn over and pull through just the first 2 loops, and there we go. We have our 5 ready to go together. We're just going to count to make sure the loops are correct. So there's 3, 4, 5, and then our working loop on the hook makes 6. So we're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops, and that is going to make a bobble stitch. Now here you're going to want to make sure you kind of push out from the inside a little bit and then go right into the next stitch and pull tight the next single crochet, and that's going to make his little arms. So as you can see, there's 2 stitches there, one for the bobble and one for the next single crochet. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now we're going to start another bobble stitch. So make sure you have plenty of slack on your yarn. Okay, so we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch. Pull up a loop, pull through 2, and do that 4 more times. There's 2. 3. Now if you're finding it impossible to get that last double crochet in there, you can go with 4. It's not going to make a huge difference. His arms will just be slightly smaller. But I promise it is possible to get that 5th double crochet started. Make sure you don't pull through other loops like I just did there, and count your loops before you pull through all together. So make sure you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and your working loop makes 6. Go ahead and yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. Try not to split your yarn for the 50th time. Okay, and now we're going to make sure we push that back of that bobble through with our finger, and then go right into the next stitch and make a single crochet. So now you can see his little arms. I'm going to continue with 6 more single crochet to finish out the round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one here. Remember, we already counted the one next to the bobble. It makes 7 total. Alright, so there's round 10. Again, we're going to move our stitch marker to the back and continue to round 11 and 12. 11 and 12 is just 24 single crochet around again. So you have 1, 2, make sure your stitch marker is out of the way. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7's right there before the bobble. Make sure you don't skip it. Then we're going to go into the top of the bobble stitch. You'll see that there's a stitch right on top there. So I'm going to make sure you pick up both loops. Single crochet normally. And then go right into that next single crochet. Again, make sure you don't skip these 2. And we have our 9th stitch. And 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and the 16th is going to be the stitch right before the bobble. 17 is going to be right on top of that bobble stitch. Make sure you pick up both loops. 18 is going to be right after that bobble. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and our last stitch is 24. And then from here you're going to go around one more time doing 24 single crochets. One, 2, 3, 4, and we skipped right to the end of the round, so feel free to pause. And that's 24 right there. So that is the end of round 12. Make sure you pull up a loop here, and we're going to just tie it off quickly. I like to use the method I'm showing here to just tie off the end there, make sure nothing ever comes undone. And then as you can see, we have his little body started. So now to add his safety eyes, we're going to go ahead and find rounds 7 and 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to find it right between 7 and 8. Just double check here. And then we're going to count inward 2 stitches from each arm. So go in and then kind of just meet up as you would like a grid and find that space between the stitches. Use your crochet hook to kind of like poke a hole there so you don't lose it, and also to get it ready to put that safety eye in. Alright, so there's that one. We're going to do the same for the other side. So 1, 2, and then we're going to go right up to the round 7 and 8. Find that spot, stick our crochet hook in, and just get it ready for that safety eye. So there's our spaces. Now here I'm showing you the difference between going in 2 versus going in 1 stitch from each arm. As you can see, if you go in 2, his face becomes much smaller, much cuter, but placement is completely up to you depending on how you want his face to look. I personally prefer the more cutesy look, but as you can see, he still looks pretty much the same. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put those eyes in. If you're anything like me, I have the hardest time putting in eyes, but it's all good as long as I get in. Alright, so there they are. Look how cute he is. Alright, so the next step we're going to do is start his little facial features. This includes his blushy little cheeks and his cute little mouth. You can change up how you want his face to look depending on your own personal style. Some people don't like to put blush in a mouth. That's perfectly fine. It's completely up to you. But I will show you how to do these steps so that you know how to do them for the face on this video. So I'm going to go ahead and put a knot at the end of our pink yarn. Make sure it's kind of a big knot so it doesn't come through those stitches. We're going to put it on a yarn needle. Easiest way to do that is just fold the yarn over your needle, pull tight, and then just stick that right through the hole. Alright, so sometimes this is easier to do before you put the backs on. I probably should have mentioned that before. But yes, it is easier to do this part before you put the backs on, but it's not impossible. So we're going to go ahead and go from the back, kind of shimmy our way around the back of the safety eye, and we're going to come out kind of halfway, like a midpoint on the side of his eye. There we go, and then we're just going to go again through the midpoint at the bottom of his eye. And there we go, we have his first little cheeky. These don't have to be perfect, you know, just as long as you have that little blush, it makes them extra cute. So again, we're going to go over to the other eye. We're going to come up midway through the side, and then midway on the bottom. And there's his little cheeks. Make sure you don't pull too tight like I just did there and ends up going underneath the eyeball. You want to make sure it's out so you can see his little cheeks. But as you can see, it's not that impossible to fix it. And then what I like to do is just go through this middle yarn piece right here and just make a knot. That will just secure it in place so it doesn't come out. And then just stick the end right inside and use it as stuffing. You can stop here, or you can continue on with the mouth, which I highly recommend you use crochet thread for. If you don't have crochet thread, take your black yarn and just split the yarn into 2 threads. You can make a thicker mouth if you like, that's your aesthetic, that's perfectly fine. I just like the tinier mouth personally. So make sure you make quite a big knot so again it doesn't come through the stitches when it's pulled. And then go ahead and put that through your yarn needle. Now for his mouth, you kind of want to find the midpoints of the two stitches between the eyes, and you want to go through the center of those two stitches. Okay, so I'm going to go through the midpoint of the first stitch. One day I'll figure out how to do centering on my crochet videos. I apologize, but I figured it out here. Go through that center part, and then go right over to the next stitch and go through the center of that one. So as you can see, I came out that one. We're going to go through the center of this next one. Don't pull too tight because you want him to have that little ubu sort of mouth. And then again, we're going to do the same thing we did with that last tie off and just kind of make a knot around that center of the pink thread. Tie it off. And then just use the extra yarn as stuffing. If you want to, you can kind of place or glue the mouth in place if you really want to. You can put an extra little stitch there at the bottom to kind of pull it down into a V shape if you like. I like to leave it natural. That's completely up to you. So now what we're going to do is undo that knot we did to hold the yarn in place. And we're going to continue on to round 13. Okay, so now we're going to start round 13. I have heard that this round can be kind of tricky, but remember that we'll be working in the front loop only. And we're going to be working 11 repeats of a single crochet, double crochet, single crochet in the front loop only of one stitch, and the next stitch will be a slip stitch. So we have a single, a double, and a single all in the same stitch, and then in the next stitch we're going to be working a slip stitch. Remember, front loop only. We're going to do that again, so a single, a double. I apologize for the extremely poor off-centered visual here. I will get it one day, I promise. And then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch to finish that repeat. So we have 2, single crochet, double, and single, and then slip stitch into the front loop of the next stitch, and that makes 3. So single, double, single, and slip stitch, single, double, single again in the same stitch, and then slip stitch, so that is the end of our 5th one. Single, double, single, slip stitch into the next stitch, single, double, single again in the same stitch. Try not to split your yarn like I did here. And then slip stitch into the next front loop. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and single, double, single, remember we're going to be doing a slip stitch and not a single crochet like I started to do here, but I caught it. We're all good. We're going to start our next repeat, single crochet, double, single, and then slip stitch into the next space. Front loop only, of course. Then we're going to do single, double, single, slip stitch, and we're going to do that one more time. Single, double, and single in the same front loop, and slip stitch into the next space. So now the last two we're going to do are going to be slightly different than our repeat, but we're still going to be doing a single, double, single in the same loop. So there's the single, the double, and a single again. Now instead of slip stitching into the front loop, we're actually going to slip stitch into the back loop. Alright, and there's the end of round 13. Pull our stitch marker forward and continue on to round 14. Alright, so it's going to be kind of tricky, but you want to find the back loop of the first stitch. And we're going to skip, back loop of the first stitch. Okay, we're going to work 3 single crochets into the first 3 stitches, back loops of round 12. And we're going to skip 1, and we're going to work 3 again. Essentially what we're doing here is 2 single crochet, decrease. But to make it a bit easier, because it's only using the back loops, we're going to just skip the stitch. So we're going to do 3 single crochets, skip, and repeat that 6 times. And we're going to end up with a total of 18 stitches. Alright, so crochet. Again, and we're going to skip that one, work 3 single crochet again. So 1, 2, 3, skip, 1, 2, 3, skip 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to skip that last space, which is taken up by the previous row anyways. Alright, move your stitch marker, and we're going to begin round 15. 15 is going to be a single crochet and a decrease repeated 6 times. We're going to end up with 12 stitches. This time we're working in both loops, unless you're going to be doing the invisible decrease like I am here, in which case you're going to pick up the first 2 loops of the first 2 stitches and crochet them together to make an invisible decrease, and then single crochet 1 in the next. So here we go again, decrease, single crochet in the next space makes 4, decrease 5, single crochet 6, decrease 7, single crochet 8, decrease 9, single crochet 10, decrease 11, single crochet 12. Okay, and then we're going to just pull up a loop here and kind of move everything out of the way. We're going to start to get ready to fill our howl in. So go ahead and grab your polyfill, and we're going to start stuffing him up. So what I find people do a lot when stuffing amigurumi is they try to pack it full as much as they can and they lose sight of sculpting. It's important to always keep the shape of your amigurumi. So make sure that when you're stuffing your howl here, you want to make sure that he's got a rounded top, he's not too puffed out, his stitches are still intact, his face is still, showing exactly how it should be. And it doesn't matter if it's completely stuffed full, but you also don't want it to be understuffed. So keep in mind when you're stuffing Howl, how much you're putting in there and what shape you're making. As you can see, I'm taking small pieces of polyfill and just kind of making sure that his base is nice and solid. And then we're going to go on to round 16. 16 is going to be our final round, and we're going to be working 6 decreases. Again, I will be using the invisible decrease method. So I'll be pulling up the front loops of the stitches and decreasing those together instead of the whole stitch. So there's 1, decrease 2. I apologize for him being out of view again. Having a bit of trouble there. We got this though. Alright, so there's 2. Decrease 3. Decrease 4. Decrease 5. And then our final decrease. At this point, you can go ahead and cut the end. Make sure you leave enough for you to sew the end shut. And pull that yarn through. Just trying to fix his smile here. Alright, so you're going to, at this point you can go ahead and get rid of your running stitch marker. Normally it would just pull out like that, but for some reason the yarn broke. But don't panic, you can just pull the other end and it comes out and there's nothing left behind. No holes, no nothing. So go ahead and put that yarn on your yarn needle. Try not to split the yarn like I did. At this point I'm just really tired in the video and I apologize. Alright, and then we're going to do the Amigurumi close method. And just like when you decrease in the invisible decrease, we're just going to be working in the front loops only. So just go ahead and go through each loop using only the front loop. There's 4, 5, and then 6. And we're going to pull tightly. And that's going to make a nice little circle as if you had started there. And then we're going to go straight through the middle of that opening. Come out somewhere random on Howl just to kind of pull it shut. And as you can see, there's almost no indication of an end there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just fixing his arms here so they're nice and plump. Just kind of making sure he's nice and molded well. Alright, and then we're going to tie a knot. And then go back through where we came out and out through somewhere else so we can hide that knot and then just cut the end. And there you go, he's all finished now. Look at how mischievous and cute he is. You can make tons of these. They're great for kids for Halloween. Make sure if you're giving them to kids though, you might want us to, use yarn instead of safety eyes. But happy Halloween and enjoy!